Yes, welcome along and welcome to another edition of the Irish Rally Podcast with me, Kevin Regan. This podcast, of course, is brought to you in association with FACT, the simply automatic choice for automation equipment for gates, doors, barriers and rising bollards, available from your security installer and electrician and distributed to the trade in Ireland, North and South by National Automation. The one-stop distributor for automation equipment, door entry intercom systems, CCTV, intruder and fire alarms, access control and locks. And for more information, you can check out nal.ie/products. Right, so on this edition of the Irish Rally Podcast, we welcome along a man who is very well known in Irish motorsport circles. He's known as a competitor, as a clerk at a course on the Limerick Forestry Rally, and he's won many awards down through the years. It is Mr. Anthony Nestor. Anthony, welcome along here to the Irish Rally Podcast. Good to have you on.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Great to have you. I hope everything is well with you.
Yeah, we're living the dream, yeah.
Living the dream. Well, some of us are still chasing it, so it's good to know one of us are living it anyway.
Oh, we're not too bad. The sun is shining. We'll always be very optimistic when the sun shines around here. So
that's it. Well, look, that's all we can do. We were giving you a little intro there, and we were just mentioning, you've kind of done it all when it comes to motorsport. You've been a competitor. You've won many a championship. You have been clerk of the course with the Limerick Forestry Rally, and you're on the Rallies Commission with Motorsport Ireland up to last year, I think, as well. So there's not a whole lot you haven't seen over the last 30 or 40 years.
I think, to be fair, you've been very, very kind to me when you say I was a clerk of the course. I think there's one of our colleagues down in Killarney, Anthony O'Connor, and I won't say on air, it was just a private, probably joke between us, but I didn't make it. I think a virgin COC that I'm still trying to break the duck, because I think I got one stage before the snow cut us in 2019.
2019, that's right, yeah.
No stage in 2020. And what we did this year, just for the pig iron, I suppose, I drove up to the start of which was the first stage last year and the year before, just to see what it was like on the 1st of March this year. And it was 14 degrees in the place for the hill walkers and the sun shining. And I took a little video snippet there. I was saying, 2 years in a row for snow, but the 1 year I didn't run it. So I'm afraid you can't call me a COC. I tried. I'm making a fine bad job of it. Yeah, snow just seems to follow me around the place. After the forest year last year, I'm sure you saw many of the experts on social media. Mind you, my poor mother, and she's in her 80s, took great joy because she always wanted me to be a priest when I was growing up. So when she saw my head on the Child of Prague, she was fierce impressed for fellas sticking it up on social media. Yeah, so you have to laugh at these things. I felt sorry, to be fair. I felt sorry for the competitors, and what worried me on the day was, we could have taken a chance last year and ran the cars out to the first stage, but the trouble is, once a rally car leaves Parc Fermé, the insurance premium cuts in and the money is gone and their entries are gone and the entry fees are gone. So I was very conscious of that morning. I says, I was getting a lot of advice from, let's just say, persons, and saying, get it going and get them out there and let's get going and just see what happens. But I says, there's no seeing. We're either going to run all the event or none of it. I says, I don't want to drag people out and start going on road sections all over the road. And, I just conscious of the fact that, once you go through the staff control, that is at the point where your insurance premium cuts in and your entry fee disappears immediately. So, I know people spend a lot of money turning up and they spend a lot of money traveling, and there was guys at cars hired I know the cost of those. And yeah, it's embarrassing, I suppose, is one word. But it was still the right decision. But why the hell snow follows me around is beyond me. And to be fair, one of our colleagues here in Limerick, Kieran Ambrose, he was up in the stages during the night at about 4:00, and he rang me on the phone, and I thought, what the hell? I was sleeping on the couch at the house because we had people staying at the house and all the beds were gone. And I was lying on the couch and the phone rang. He says, "You're not going to believe it." He says, "I'm stuck in the snow." I says, "You're joking." I actually thought he was joking because we were on the stage the previous day and the sun was shining. And he rang me 4:00. He says, "We're in trouble." So, yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? But
Certainly an interesting start to your first event as COC. I still think we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, and we can say you were a COC who had to make a very important decision, and I'm sure there was kind of debate about that at the time. And in actual fact, I remember clearly there was debate. No doubt in your mind, obviously, it was the right thing to do. But there's also a lot of debate over the last couple of weeks, Anthony. And it is, of course, in regard to, I suppose, a letter which, circulated in the past few weeks from Motorsport Ireland, and it kind of outlined, the format and plan for things going forward and how they see things running and possible entry fees and whatnot. So that has led to a lot of debate over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of competitors, I think, feel, it's a little bit unfair that they won't be able to find the money to compete. Where do you see it? Where do you lie on the whole thing?
oh, right. I can see it from both sides. If you look at the current situation, I can see what Motorsport Ireland were trying to do. They were trying to give a guideline. I thought, anyway, they were trying to give a guideline as to what clubs should adopt and how they should go about their business. Because one thing I was very surprised when I got involved in the preparing of Limerick Forestry Rally, I asked the directors of the club, has anyone got a budget template so we can use a budget template to see, what's this going to cost and how do we get it to pay for itself? And I was surprised actually to find out that there wasn't. And one of the guys, he was a director, I think, at that particular time a couple of years ago, a friend of mine just living over the road. And he said he had one, and we got it and we went through it and we went and did all our figures. Now, as it turned out, I used that exact same template after the forestry rally when I listed down all the different costs of our event at the time. I brought it last June or July, to the Rallies Commission, because what I was trying to do is I was concerned about the gravel rallies in Ireland, that there was so little clubs putting their hand up to run them. And even after COVID, if you remember back to last year, when Motorsport Ireland were asking clubs to put their hand up and say, look, would you like to run an event? And if so, government restrictions permitting, of course, what type of event would you like to run? And, you had the likes of Wexford and Carrick-on-Suir and Killarney and other bits and pieces. But there was tarmac rallies, which are difficult to run. You have PR issues, your residents, and nobody put up their hand for a forest event, which would be, in a semi-gated fashion because all the forests are locked. No residents, no PR problems. So from a COVID perspective, would have been much easier to run. And I was worried as to, why would a club not put their hand up to run a forestry? Now, I can understand a lot of areas don't have forests. That's fine. But when you looked at the budget spreadsheet that I had, what we did here in Limerick, we did actual costs. So every time that I went to the forest to do a job, we had agreed that it was €20. If I took my truck up there to do any work, it was €50. And there was an actual set cost for everything. Now, that doesn't say I got the money. I'm just saying these were costs, actual costs allocated. And everything that was done had to be paid for. But when I brought it to the Rallies Commission, I was trying to get them to see, is there any way we can reduce the cost of these gravel rallies to allow clubs maybe to put their hand up because there wasn't such a financial risk of losing money. Limerick Forestry Rally, I don't know whether I'm allowed to say it or not. Probably not. I don't think it's fair to say, but the loss for whether when the event last year didn't run because of the snow, whether the event ran or it didn't run, didn't make any difference. The loss was colossal because of the cost of running it and the lack of interest. So you needed the entries. You needed, a lot of people say, look, you need 70 cars to make it here, and you need 80 cars. You don't. What you need is a quantity of cars, a quantity of sponsorship, and a quantity of return for your program. They're your three sources of income. So once you have them, so you need X amount of cars with X amount of sponsorship, with X amount of program sales, or a mishmash of whatever to run a rally. So I brought it forward to the Rallies Commission time to see, is there anywhere we can cut costs or make it a little bit cheaper? And to be fair, we didn't get very far with it at the time. But as it turns out, all those budget template forms, I don't know, have you seen them? They sent out these went out to the clubs that look like that. All these template forms, they're actually my templates that I was using. That's what went out to all the clubs by motorsport, which is fine. I have no issue with that. So I'm very familiar with the layout and the costs and so on and so forth in it. So yeah, whereas there's a lot of little errors and little bits and pieces, a little out and here and there in the budgets, and that they're not a million miles out, to be fair. I think the biggest issue on those budgets, actually, I don't know, did everybody see them or look over? And this is relating to your question as to the entry fees and what people are giving out about. All the costs on it are, to be fair, if some of them, if anything, they're a little low. I'll just give you one example. I had a cost there of I haven't got it in front of me now. I had a cost there to move say bales, moving bales out in stages, putting in protection bales and chicanes and all that kind of stuff. And basically, no matter what you do, I think we paid something like €200 for a tractor with a grab per day, and we used to have two of them there at a time. And I think that these guys, when they were putting their budget in, they allowed for, I don't know, about €200 or €300. 1 second, I'll just get it. It won't take a second to find it. Expenses, credit expenses, agri-contractor, here to see her down in the last column. So they put in €1,000 for putting in, taking out, or purchasing a bales. I spent $2,500 on that, and I couldn't get it any cheaper. So there were, whereas the figures on it aren't maybe 100%. The overall thing is pretty much on the money, in the sense that it shows clubs making quite a lot of profit, which I think a lot of people are giving out over. These budget spreadsheets show the club making $7,500, but if you look at it in reality, they won't make anything out of it. But the biggest thing that would have affected the entry fee, if you look down through it now, I think there's new provisions in because of COVID. I think the portaloos that we would have commonly seen at the start of the stage, they were just portaloos, and you get them for, I don't know, €500 for the day was kind of the go of it. But now I think those portaloos now, and I haven't read the paperwork on this, it's not disseminated widely yet, but I think all those portaloos that we see at rallies now have to have running hot water, certainly running water in them, and for to be able to wash your hands. So little things like that. But the main big ticket items that were on those budgets compared to the actual one that I used with the actual figures in it was the €7,500 increase of cost, which was divided up between the tracking, which I noticed was on it, which I don't know. My understanding was actually that was voted out by clubs, but I'm open to correction on that. And the other expenses, the €3,000 for the COVID expenses, which I haven't looked at it. Could be right. So that seems to be leading to that seems to be one of the major causes of the entry fee being what it is. It's never nice reading when things are that little bit dearer.
Well, there's two things to point out. We will run down through those fees, but just to put it out there that we have made contact with Motorsport Ireland, and we did look to have someone on the Irish Rally podcast. We did have a provisional yes, but it wasn't a confirmation, just to point that out. But in the end, they have respectfully declined this evening's interview. We did receive, I should say, a short statement from Motorsport Ireland, which I'll just read out here now. So it says Motorsport Ireland will, in the coming weeks, hopefully be given a restart date from Sport Ireland, and when we are given a return date, we will begin entering into 2021 calendar negotiations with our affiliated clubs. In light of this fact, it was important that the Rallies Commission published the information in relation to the cost of running rallies at this time, so that clubs considering running rallies in 2021 know where things stand. The agreed rally formats circulated to clubs last week are in line with our return to sport protocols, which have been submitted to Sport Ireland for approval. With reference to the online entry portal, any confusion around this matter was clarified in a subsequent letter to the clubs from the Rallies Commission this week, and Motorsport Ireland remains fully committed to getting domestic motorsport back up and running in a safe manner, in line with public health guidelines, and to provide safe, enjoyable events for all of our licence holders across all disciplines. That's the statement that we've received from Motorsport Ireland in response to our request to have them here on the Irish Rally podcast. Anthony?
There was one piece of a sentence I enjoyed in the middle of that. It was good that they clarified that once you paid your entry fee, that it didn't go to Motorsport Ireland. Because to be fair, be it unfortunate, and it was maybe unfortunate, the way they worded the letter out to the clubs, it left you under no illusion that that's what it was implying. It was the second last paragraph, I think, in the first stage. It says here, all entries and payments will be on this platform, and they've referred to the platform earlier as being currently developed by the office. So you couldn't but think the money went anywhere else. But it was a good thing that they came out and clarified it, really, which was, because there was a lot, there seemed to be, as I said, I'm no different anywhere else. I remember just watching it on social media. There seems to be a lot of reaction from that. The one thing I did notice by the letter, actually, you read out, which I thought was very interesting, it said agreed rally formats. That the rally formats were agreed, which are, I don't know. Again, it is only my opinion. I find it hard to believe that they could be agreed, considering they never spoke to any of the clubs that I'm aware of. Now, maybe they did, but as far as I'm aware, I don't think this was just a decision taken by the governing body or elements within us, and they decided. The question I would love to have asked, it's a pity that I'm disappointed actually they're not here this evening, because one of the questions I would have put to them was, why would you issue budgets? Like all clubs, as a rule, are limited companies. They have their own board of directors. They've been running rallies for many a long year. So why would you be telling them how to do it now and insisting on particular fees? I'm just curious, because certainly, now, again, it is only my opinion. As far as I'm aware, I'd be very surprised if any club looked to the governing body to set an entry fee for them. I'm open to correction on that. I don't particularly see the need of budgets. Now, well, that's not true. I do see the need of them. What I would have done, but look, I have no authority or say that. The budgets, as I said, whereas there's errors and there's errors and everything, I wouldn't mind that so much. There would have been a fantastic guideline. If you think about it, when I said 2 years ago, when I spoke to our guys in Limerick and nobody had a budget. So literally to take the entries in, to spend the money out, and make sure to spend little, and you should make a few pounds. And it was a hit and miss, and sure, see how we get on. That's fine, and it worked for years, and thankfully, it never went wrong for them. But with the budgets that MI or the government by Motorsport Ireland issued, what would I have done? I would have probably given to the clubs as a guideline and said, "Hi guys, here is something for you. If all the other clubs don't have budgets either, they might have learned a thing or two and said, God, yeah, is that what that actually costs?" Or, they do make good reading, and it's interesting when you actually see. And it would be good to disseminate that information within a club or with a club membership and competitors, that they will realize, wow, these things are expensive to cost run. Like, any forestry rally, and I can only comment on that because that was the budget I did. You need €60,000, like. Mm-hmm. And your only source of income is the competitor. And if they can't, if during program or if during COVID they're not allowed print programs and all this kind of stuff, which I can fully understand, and you've added extras expenses, it's inevitably going to lead on to the entry. Would I have insisted on the clubs enforced? You see, it's like everything in life. It's how you sell it, or it's how you communicate the information. And I'll put my neck out here a small bit. Motorsport Ireland historically, when it comes to communication, it lacks just a tad now, to be fair. Small little things like, if something as simple as that letter that went out to the clubs, the amount of uproar it has caused, and they're on then, writing letters to clubs, defending it and all that. And, I was reading a book, actually, and to be fair, I'm not a great reader, but I was reading, it wasn't even a book, I just have an article out of a safety thing or something. And I read a good saying in it, which when I said it to a colleague of mine, actually, which everybody probably knows, James O'Brien down in Cantor, he said, yeah, that was an old saying, was I only coming into the real world now? And what the saying was is, when you're explaining, you're losing. I'd never actually heard it before, but I thought it was very fitting for, what's all going on. When you're explaining, you're losing. So, if
But like, just to put one thing out there, I have, as I said, looked for someone from Motorsport Ireland to come on, and this is just my opinion. It's the only opinion I will give on it, because I have to be impartial. I'm here to ask the questions. But I was of the opinion, when looking for the guys to come on from Motorsport Ireland, that it might look better on their behalf if someone did come out and tried to clarify it publicly. And I'm not quite sure, has that clarification been given now? They've given the statement, and that's fair enough. They decided to do that. I just would have loved to have had someone on the show here as well to maybe articulate that, from their point of view. But look, that's the way it is. It would have possibly cleared things up a little bit, but that's we extended the olive branch, and I can't really do any more on that front. There's just a couple of points to pick up on as well. Like, and I know, let's run down through the cost from that letter that they did send out. So, like, with the tarmac stage rallies, just say, for example, 160 permitted starters, a national 2x3 format, minimum 70 kilometres to maximum 90 kilometres, main field, including historic, entry fee 800, junior 650. The tarmac stage rallies then, with the 160 permitted, the international format, the 3x3, minimum 90 kilometres to maximum 120 again, main field including historic, entry fee 1,000 and junior 800. Now, they have said, please note, on this format, should the host club wish to be part of the FIA Championship, dispensation may be required from the FIA. And then to go back, I suppose, to the formats for the stage rallies from the forestry point of view, 100 permitted starters, 3x2 format, minimum 45 kilometres to maximum 60 kilometres, main field including historic, entry fee 900 and the J1000 700, and with the format being 2x2 with minimum 45 kilometres to maximum 60 kilometres, main field including historic 850 and the J1000 700. Now, I know you've kind of said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you don't have a huge problem with the fees, but can you understand maybe from the point of view of some people that think that's extortionate?
I suppose, when you say I have no problem with the fees, I would have no problem with the fees in general once I can see where they're coming from. I do believe that there's slight, you see, what's causing, you have to look back at what's causing the fees to go up. And, as I said, the big ticket items to cause it to go up are the tracking, which, as I said, I thought was voted out. But look, as I said, I'm open to correction. There's someone come back. I have this vision that the clubs were up in arms over that not that long ago, and they voted it out for, that's, another day's work. Can I see why they're annoyed? Absolutely. Because what has happened here is, if you look at the budget spreadsheets, they've worked it, and I'll use the gravel one for the moment. They've worked it on 80 cars, 70 main field. I think the entry fee is just a tad wrong. It's not out a huge amount to get it to break even, and I know that from looking at it. But what bothered me was that they had cut the stage mileage back as well. Now, I actually don't know why. I that's why it was one of my questions I was going to ask whatever representative came on this evening. Is what the idea of cutting the stage mileage back? Now, I've heard a couple of ideas. One, which didn't make sense to me at all, was that to allow rescue services and paramedics and so on and so forth to go home early, which that just didn't tie up as a logical enough reason, in the sense that if you have them there from 7 in the morning, whether you let them home at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon makes no difference, because their day is destroyed anyway. To run the extra loop of stages wasn't going to make any difference to their day. Their day was gone. So that was one. So that didn't make sense. And the other reason, I'm trying to remember what was the other reason that was given. I can't remember now, but there was another reason given as to why. Oh yes, why the mileage was cut back. Because I was told, now again, you see, I'm not on the commission anymore, and I haven't been speaking to people on it. And this is just literally for all, and there's lots, because a lot of people still think I'm on the commission. So I'm getting phone calls, lots of phone calls. And one of the ideas was mooted that the reason for the stage mileage being cut, right, the entry fees are increasing. I can see why they did that. But then to come along the other hand, as well as increasing it, to reduce the mileage, so you're now getting bad value. And the reason that was given was that it was safer to run shorter events to get us introduced, which made absolutely no sense to me, really. And then I was wondering, maybe was it worrying about a lack of marshals? And this is where I suppose the governing body suffers a little bit. They don't explain, they don't communicate their message in a manner that is understandable, and people just get up in arms, and then they have to go defending the thing. I'd be curious to know where the mileage is cut. It just makes no sense. And of course, my personal belief is that clubs should set their own entry fees. I suppose it's, as I said, the fact that they're not with us this evening, we're just going to just hope, I guess, that there's a press release, which I'm sure they will. There's enough of guys there. I'm sure that somebody will come and educate us. But I just keep thinking of the phrase that phrase I mentioned earlier, when you're explaining, you're losing. But there is a lot of uproar. I can appreciate that when someone sees an entry fee for €900 for 6 stages, it's just...
It's probably out of reach for a lot of people, let's be honest.
I appreciate that. And I don't understand why. I can't see, apart from the COVID and apart from the tracker, which is 7,500, it's very simple. Like, if you get 7,500 and you divide it, say, by 70 cars, which is what, 115 or 16 euro.
And again, sorry, just to clarify, the trackers are included in that entry fee price, and as you said, it was a topic of debate. But just to outline that as well.
Yeah, the trackers are in the budget sheets that were given out to all the clubs. I don't know where they came from or how they came in or what. I don't know. But they are one. If people are wondering what is the big cause of the increase in their working out of their mathematics, those are the big ticket items, and they are, as I said, the tracking and the COVID alone is accounting for probably 115 or 16 euro of an increase, and that's the bulk of the increase, say, on some of the forms. The worry I would have, like that, if you get into this thing where you're setting entry fees, is there any comeback from it? I know that if you look at some of the comments on social media, and to be fair, I think they're pretty accurate in the sense that I've certainly been at functions, prize givings, not that I go to many of them, where representatives of the governing body would have stood up and said, keep your sport safe, keep down the claims, and please God, we'll be able to bring down the entry fees. Now, my understanding is that and I don't know this for a fact, again, as I said, it's a pity we don't have somebody here this evening. My understanding is that compared to 5 or 6 years ago, the insurance premium is substantially lower now than it was, say, 5 or 6 years ago. Now, that is just my understanding. And if that is seen to be correct, well, you would think if it has come down substantially, that the entry fees would have come down. And I know a lot of people will say, it's both sides. There's a lot of people complaining over the entry fee at the end of the day. As one of my friends up the country put this very, very well recently to me. The entry fee is the cheapest part of your day in a lot of cases. And the cost of it doesn't bother a lot of people. I think the biggest issue with the entry fee, and don't get me wrong, I think it is high, the biggest issue with the entry fee, if you want to go out and you want to buy, for argument's sake, a World Rally car and spend whatever, I won't even discuss the price of them. Or if you want to go out and spend a car for $5,000, that is your choice, and you can do that. If you want to go on the latest Michelin tires or Pirellis, I better give them all a mention, or whatever, or Hosiers, you can do that. Or if you want to go and buy a set of second-hand ones at £50 a piece, when said old Murphy or Niall Maguire has taken scalps off them for a couple of loops of stages and get them second-hand, which all these guys do, that is also an option. That is your choice. If you want to stay in the rally headquarters at £200 a night, or you want to sleep in the back of your car like I did at the very start, along fella over the road here, Aidan Welsh, another rally man, when we were all starting out back in the 80s. That is your choice, but you've no choice in the entry form. That is a dictated set price, and I think a lot of the reaction comes from because you've no control. You've control of every other aspect of your day, but you've no control over your entry fee, and people just get scared that it gets out of control and out of kilter. But yeah, it's
that's the way it is. Now, like, we can't really confirm the authenticity of what I'm about to say here, Anthony, but a screenshot has circulated, which I'll read out, and it basically quotes and says, clubs vote to allow clubmen ralliers to be cheating, starts with a B and ends with an S, for another 2 years. Again, we can't really confirm the authenticity of this, but you've seen the screenshot. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, or whether it's true, whether it's false. But it's to do with the trackers as well, and it kind of insinuates, as you can see and as I've said, that because clubmen didn't want trackers, then they were cheats, basically. Again, I'm not going to put it out there because I don't know for definite who it's from, but if it's true, it doesn't look good.
No, it's I'm trying to think of a suitable word for it. Disgusting is the first word that comes to mind. Is it true? Is it not? Again, I suppose, to be fair, it was one of the questions I had here to ask whatever representative may have come on this evening. Can they confirm or deny that this actually came from within a member of their own senior council, which seems to be what's alleged out there? So there's no way that you can justify it. It's absolutely disgusting. And, you know, again, like you, obviously it was sent to a recipient. And, you know, if you're emailing that, and I do know from being on the Rallies Commission that all the members will have seen it. It's when the system, I know certainly when we were on the commission last year, that, you know, if I wrote an email to Kevin Regan, well, all the other members see it as well. And I didn't see any email coming back saying, you know, Mr. Whoever you are, you can't say that. Yeah, it's disgusting. What a way to think about people. I don't think there's words that can describe it. It's absolutely the lowest thing I have seen in a long time. I'm at this since 1984, and this is as bad as I've seen. Like, I couldn't get over such a thing. And like, that's, you know, allegedly at the higher echelons of the senior council, if you're to believe all you hear on most social media. So to be fair, it'll be great when the governing body will, you know, clarify, put it to bed, I suppose, first, as you mentioned, of its authenticity, to see, is it true? Is it a bona fide email? It was quite interesting that it's just one paragraph, which confused me. Why would you release one paragraph? That was, don't know.
So again, it would have been nice to have someone here just to clear that up. And look, I would have, as I outlined already, everyone was getting a fair crack here. You know what I mean? So look, that's just the way it is. Like, as the fella said, in terms of progressing things and trying to make a bit of an improvement, then, and trying to, I suppose, you know, you mentioned communication. That's one thing for sure that it seems can be looked at. In the last couple of hours, on the pacenote.com have put up a post, and it's titled "Solving a Couple of Problems." Number one, help / marshalling, and number two, entry fees. So I'll just articulate that here for the purpose of the podcast. So it reads: reward people that help. Each person registers as an MSI volunteer. Each person that registers is sent a unique QR code. Whilst volunteering, a specific list of events and roles to be outlined. Their QR code is scanned by the Chief Marshal and designated club rep and logged in the central database. Each event is worth €25 or whatever amount of credit that can be deducted from their next rally event. A maximum number of, say, 6 event credits can be used on anyone's entry fee. Or any one entry fee, I think that should read. Potentially now your €800 entry fee is $650. And some of the biggest brands in the world use loyalty cards and they work. Again, this is all quoting. Those people that are not in a position to help out pay the premium entry fee, and those that can help out are rewarded with a reduced entry fee. The database generates a valuable list of help that can be filtered for areas and events in the future. And just a little asterisk with it here as well. It says, yes, there is some working out on exact figures and the precise value of the scheme, but the €800 entry fee is designed to protect clubs in the event of them not raising sponsorship. But I am pretty sure clubs will still raise funds from virtual program/event advertising and other innovative ideas. The software is nothing new. It's effectively a reward scheme. Development costs, in my opinion, will be minimal for the value of the scheme. What do you think? ? And it ends with stay positive. That's from onthepaceNote.com, which is up on their Facebook page at the time of recording. So, your thoughts on that?
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard it till now, so I'm here just trying to digest it. But I suppose, to be fair, Killian Duffy, who runs that, is he's around long enough to be able to state his opinions, and to be fair, they're valid in most cases. Is it a good idea? Yeah, I can see the merit in that. I can see that a lot of fellas will say, look, for the sake of €120, just pay the entry fee. I'm not going to do whatever. For people who want to, yeah, you can go. Yeah, I could warm to that. It gives you an option. Yeah, you'd have to see the breakdown and the whole structure of it. But yeah, look, to be fair, any idea that anyone comes up, and to be fair to Killian, I would say, in the absence of someone coming up with a better suggestion, he says the best idea out there. I've heard no one else come up with an idea to reduce entry fees. So yeah, rock on and try anything. Don't ever not try it. It's better to try it and fail it than not try it at all.
Well, it does, like, to put it out there, as we're all aware of, or maybe there's no point in taking this for granted, but maybe some people aren't aware that there is a shortage of marshals. I've marshaled for, over the last decade or whatever, and I know the crack. They're scarce, they're thin on the ground. On some events, you barely have the minimum, according to the safety plan, to cover a junction, which is scary stuff, like. So there is a shortage of marshals, so there is a bit of an initiative there.
Yeah, competitors don't realise the marshal issue, and to be fair, it's no harm that it's kept in what you call it. I know certainly I was doing Donegal 2 years ago with my friend from Dromara there, Stuart Biggerstaff, and we retired on Saturday night, and I was in bed. We had a late night, and I was in bed, and I got a phone call about 3:30 in the morning to know would I root out a few fellas at the stage. Just there was the unfortunate incident on the following day. Had no marshals to run, and at 3:00 in the morning, there were 16 people down. Could I get anyone out of bed to come up? And this was our own Kieran Ambrose here in Limerick. He was involved in trying to root people out. And it just showed you the desperation of, when we arrive at the start of the stage, we'd always expect everything to be in order and everything to run smoothly. But it would really came home to me on that occasion where I saw a man ring me at 3:30 in the morning. Or the first thing he got, which would be standard enough for me, he got his head clean off for waking me. And after he'd done, after half an hour of apologising, and I woke up, so what could you do? But I says, Jesus, what time have I to be up? He told me 5:00. This was 3:30. I was in bed at 2, and I went, all right. And I rang Marty Gallagher. Oh Lord, I can't get the other man. God, I'll be killed now for saying one name. I'm forgetting the other man. And we went away, and we went rallying. We went marshalling for the day with great crack, actually, to be fair.
And it is good crack, like. It's not the most, okay, you get a bit of lip every now and then, and it's not great.
That's the advantage of being my age, like, we don't do lip, like.
Yeah, well, you don't take a whole lot of what either, so.
I kind of have a face for radio, like, so people are not inclined to...
well, you're in good company here, boy.
they're not inclined to interact with me too much, but I think, look, my look is perceiving, I guess.
Yeah, but sure, look, that's the way it is. Right, so that's kind of where we're at. We're looking to try and progress things. Do you think we can get a positive outcome out of all this? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, to be fair, it has happened over many years, this communication issue. Certainly, when I was on the commission last year, we had a meeting with some of these senior council, because the senior council in Motorsport Ireland. They make the decisions, not the rallies committees and all these other bits. It's the senior council of 19 people. The only worry I have about the senior council, I guess, and I thought it was unusual. Now, I'm not saying anything that you can't go into the rule book and read. It's up there and for anybody to read it. Excuse me, I think it's Appendix 101 or 102, 101, 2 or 3, one of them. There's 19 people on the council. I think it's 19 or 18, something similar to that. But there's those people, of all those people that's on that council that control motorsport in Ireland, I was surprised when I saw that there's actually only 3 elected. There's only 3 people elected onto that committee, and the other 16 are appointed. Now, I can't give out too much because when I was on the Rallies Commission, I was actually appointed for a year. But the majority of them are appointments, and they're the same people year on year for the majority of cases, and there's only the 3 new guys in. So, I don't know. I'd love to think that they'd leave it a little bit, that there was more new blood coming in and out of it, because when the new people get put onto it, I think they're only allowed to stay there for a year. Certainly on the lower commissions, they can stay there for 2 years, but when they go on to that count, I think it's only 1 year. But that 3 are the only 3 that change. If that bit of balance of that maybe was a little bit more, you know, they might get new input in, and you know, it might help this communication issue. The communication where they communicate to people is poor. As I said, they had another issue there. I think was it in Tullamore or Athlone. I think we went to a meeting, and to be fair to them, I didn't know whether to feel sorry for them or kick them up the backside. They had this fantastic idea, and it was all on safety, that they wanted to bring another fire extinguisher and put an extra fire extinguisher in the car, which all seemed rosy. But of course, every competitor was wondering to himself, where does this thing fit? Until a supplier of the extinguisher stood up in the group and says, okay, and they were bringing this in, of course, unfortunately, they don't seem to do a lot of consultation outside that group. So, because if you new people in, you might get fresher ideas. And there's very little. It's wrong to say there's very little competitors on these groups. It was one of the things I brought up when I was on the commissions, that, you know, they will always come back. The governing body will always come back and say, yes, there's competitors on this committee and that committee. But when we, as rally people, refer to competitors, we're talking about rally competitors. So I changed the term. So the question I would always ask is, there current active rally or competitors on? And you could count them all in one hand or throughout the whole organisation. Even within their safety organisation, if you look at the rule book, this year I think was the first year I have seen for many years that on the safety commission, I'm mixing up commissions and council now, there's so many different variations of these things, but there's only one competitor. And it's quite easy to name him. And I don't know the guy at all. It's Chris Armstrong in Cavan. He's the only competitor. So I can see why they ran into trouble with their fire extinguisher thing. They were, as far as they were concerned, this was going to be a new rule, until it was pointed out that night by a supplier that a 2.5 foot extinguisher, where the hell were we going to put it? There was nowhere to put it. And the whole flat space, and you know, it makes the governing body look a little embarrassed on the night. And you know, when following embarrassment of that sort, you're inclined to lose credibility just a tad, and it's very hard to regain from that. And I don't know. I believe that there's a lot of good people in there. One of the main things that surprised me, and I know you've heard it, I've heard it, we've all heard it for years and years and years, about gravy trains and all this sort of rubbish that goes on. I couldn't get over, and it's actually in the rule book, because the only rules I ever followed were the rules that applied to me as a competitor. I never cared less about who gets what expenses. I couldn't be bothered. But I think it's only something like 22 or 3 cents per hour. It's only worth the paper to write it like. I know certainly with the 2 years of rally, the 2 years when I was a clerk of the course, which you kindly awarded me, I think that I hand out €120 of expenses in 2 years. The people, to be fair to them, all the officials and stewards and I had Paul Brown up from Cork, and I had Aidan Harper down from Dublin. They're all, and who else? We had Dermot Healy, Coleman Hagerty, a couple of other boys that would have come down, and some of them were stewards and safety officers and spectator control. All those guys are actually entitled to claim 23 cents a kilometre. I've never got a claim for them. They never look for money off me. And I don't think they do with a lot of clubs. I know certainly I would do a lot of safety checks with safety officers, the likes of Dermot Healy or Aidan Harper or Aidan Kelly. I think it was Willie Walsh in Clonmel once. And at no stage that I was offered a free room, like. And anytime I ever stayed, I put myself up. It never even got raised. So I feel sorry for them that they're being tarred that way. I know the trouble is they're given the perception, which I think unfortunately started in Birmingham 2 years ago. They give the perception, and from what I could see, everyone in Birmingham paid their own way, but it gives the wrong perception, and perception is everything. Perception and credibility, and if they could, tweak that a little, and maybe more than tweak communication skills, you won't be trying to go explaining yourself and falling behind. Yeah, there's all forward. To be fair, as I said, the majority of them are great guys. They have the right. They have the experience. Their heart is actually in the right place, but there's a disconnect between the decision makers and what has now been commonly referred as a clubman. There doesn't seem to be now. They don't seem to be able to explain to clubmen, and I use the phrase wisely because if you look at it realistically, everybody's a clubman. They don't. They don't. Isn't that they don't seem? They're not able. Let's just call a spade a spade. They're not able to communicate in a clear and concise manner and explain themselves correctly. But I'm sure that can be addressed. It's not a mountain that can't be climbed. So hopefully it will all die off. All these problems will be fixed, and we can stick. We can stick something on our head and go racing again soon. But
that's it. Here's hoping. And as long as we have someone, not someone, but a number of people that are forward thinking and willing to, understand each other's side and work out a plan going forward, I think that's all you can hope for. Look, aside from this, which we spoke about in quite good length at this stage, I'm going to have you on again at another stage because you've plenty of stories to tell us. But let's just.
I wouldn't believe one of them.
Well, do you know what? It's there's truth in half and they're serious stories. But let's stick with the here and now. Rally Croatia obviously is taking place this weekend, and at the time of recording, we're looking at a top 5 finish there for Craig Breen and Paul Nagle. They're 5th at the moment. All going well. They'll make another push over the next couple of days, and Chris Patterson 7th, I think, with Gus Greensmith, and then just going back down through the junior WRC, John Armstrong put in some great times, and Will Creighton there as well. So we've plenty of overseas stuff, and obviously the Olympus Rally as well. We have a number of competitors there, Creighton and Devine, that are jumping out at me, and Barry McKenna, and there's one more I'm leaving out. It might come to me in a minute.
And the silence while you're thinking doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, I was hoping you were going to dig out there.
Talk for a minute while you're thinking. And if you see all those guys, isn't it brilliant that we can follow something? And to be fair, it was brilliant when the likes of Craig and Paul came back here rallying last year, because all of us guys, all you wanted to do was beat him. And it didn't matter, I suppose, at the end of the day whether you did or not. You were trying to see how close you could come. How close are you to the level he's at, which is, extremely high. And it's a great benchmark. It's a great benchmark to when they come home. Of course, everyone wants to beat them, but it's all good sportsmanship at the end of the day. And I remember Johnny Gall, Declan Boyle gave him a great race, and unfortunately Declan had issues. But it's great to be able to use them as a benchmark. So when you go home that night, you could dream of your own World WRC and your own dreams that night. So it's great, and if you see the likes of Callum and Young Creighton and all the boys coming up, and Josh Beckel-Hearn even, it's something for us to follow. So there's nothing else really going on, like only misery when you put on the 6 o'clock news. So to be able to follow these guys, yeah, it's good, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I have the names to hand. I could have said Will Creighton competing on 2 events there. I actually can't remember whether it did or not. He's a fair man who's held competing 2 with the one time in 2 different parts of the world, but it was actually Barry McKenna, Callan Devine, Josh McErlane, and Paul Rowley. That's who's over there. Not forgetting the navigators, of course. Since we have one, we have Leon Jordan win with Barry McKenna. James Fulton is in with Callan Devine, and yeah, so good to see us represented. And just to, you mentioned when Craig was back in 2019, and Donegal in particular, Sam Moffat was actually leading that event at the time. I think he got married yesterday, so we have to send on our regards to him as well. There's a lot happening. There's more than just controversy happening the last couple of weeks. There's some good stuff happening as well.
A lot of good things, and to be fair, hopefully, I think we're at an abbreviated version of level 5, and a lot of people are coming to me and asking me, when do I think rallying will be back? And personally, I would have thought it's really, really simple. If you look at the government levels on the government website, and as I said, we're at level 5 or a variation of it at the minute. If you go down to level 2, level 2 allows 250 people to congregate in an outdoor arena. So you might get away with running a rally sprint, or you might get away with running a forestry if you try and control the people. That there was no more than 250 in each junction, but because all junctions and forests are gated, you should be able to keep a control on that. Certainly a tarmac rally, I'm sure, look, we've seen other people try and run these, but if you looked at it from a moral, let's just look at it from a moral perspective, you would be running a tarmac rally under level 1. And level 1 will be when the R rating of the virus would be really, really low. I think it'd be down under 0.5. And level 1 of the NEFIT guidelines allows 500 people to gather in an outdoor area. So you're pretty much there at that point. One of the things a lot of people, and to be fair, I didn't have a full understanding of it either till recently. And, a lot of people look at this vaccine as the be all and end all and the savior of everything. But remember, the vaccine doesn't stop you from getting COVID. The vaccine only stops you from getting sick. So, you could still have COVID and you could still pass it on. So, level 1 would be my moral judgment, but it may not be everybody's.
Can you see it happening this year? Can you see an event actually running this year?
Yeah, I can, yeah. I have been approached by Limerick Motor Club to help out in a forthcoming rally sprint, which we're going to try and get off the ground on August, the first weekend in August, which they would normally have run their hill climb over that weekend. It's one of the advantages that Limerick Motor Club has, because it's one of the oldest clubs in the country. It has the bank holiday weekends for events. It has the August bank holiday weekend, and the June bank holiday weekend would be primarily their dates historically. So I've been asked to row in. So the chances of I getting snow in August, like, I guess anything is possible, but yeah.
Hopefully not. I didn't actually give out the proposed fee for the rally sprint, which I should have given out, so I'll give it out now. They say Mondello or other gated venues, 120 permitted starters, main field entry 210, and the J1000 is 150. So just to put out there as well, just while we're on the topic of it.
Those type of events, to be fair, and the Motorsport Ireland have that correct in that those type of events will be first, just to ease you into it and ease you back. Well, not so much ease you back, but they're easier control because, obviously because they're gated, and obviously by that, this gate can be closed. So there's nobody in there, only the required people, which, you'll be able to keep it under a certain level and keeping everybody apart. I would assume, and I use the word carefully, that all those rally sprints, certainly, yeah, I'll take guidance from the government as opposed to guidance from anywhere else. But certainly if I would be involved in, say, the Limerick one, and that's not signed off 100% because I'm not sure of what job I'll be doing, but I would have thought single occupancy, unless there's a big improvement. There's no point saying, look, whoever's vaccine can have a navigator, or whoever isn't has to go on their own. So the easiest way would be just, it's only 4-5 kilometer stage. you're on your own. But we'll see when the time comes. It's a decision you'd make 3 or 4 weeks out. Like I don't want to get into a situation where we did as before, where we took all the entry fees in and then I had to spend 3 weeks giving them all back again. So we'll fall that bridge. We'll see.
Here's hoping. Well, look, just to let people know, you can subscribe and follow for free on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, as you can see from the banner there at the bottom. And of course, as well as doing the video thing here, that's obviously in relation to the podcast, so people won't be able to see the banners. Just to outline that, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Irish Rally Pod. And just again, a word for our sponsors, brought to you in association with FAC, the simply automatic choice for automation equipment. For more information, you can visit nal.ie/products. Anthony Nestor, it's been great having you on, and as we said, we will go into a more detailed discussion about your career and your exploits over the last 30 to 40 years. We can say whether you're a clerk of the course or not, that's entirely up to you. I think you're a clerk of the course anyway, and many people would argue that you were going to be a good clerk of the course. So look, we'll see in the next couple of years, be it a competitor or clerk of the course. It'll be good to see you back in action nonetheless.
We'll give it a go. We'll try. I'm not sure about having a career. I don't know what you'd call it. I just seem to have lasted a long time. I don't know, would you actually christen it a career? I just seem to have been around a long time.
Well,
I have been lucky.
Longevity is a good sign of success over the duration of a career. We'll go into that the next time we have you on. Anthony, it's been a pleasure. Thanks a million for joining us here on the Irish Rally Podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting us on.